Welcome to the Purpose to Create podcast with Natasha Wright, a business podcast for photographers and creativepreneurs who want to level up as they pursue their purpose to create. Lean in as we connect, inspire, and impact you as you build and grow your business.
I'm so hyped that you're here and listening to today's show. Today's guest is Kamron Khan, a personal branding and wedding photographer based in Cleveland, Ohio, and is the co-owner of Co-Creative, a branding and marketing agency. In today's episode, we're chatting all about how to level up your own personal branding experience. We're digging deep into the importance of professional imagery for business owners like you, how Cam plans her personal branding sessions, and so much more. Cam, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So excited too. I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
So let's jump right into it, shall we?
Absolutely.
All right. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get into this specialized niche of personal branding photography? Because from what I know, you're a dope wedding photographer in Cleveland, Ohio.
Thank you.
You're a wife and a mama to two beautiful babies. And not babies anymore. They're big.
Yeah, super big. Both Zane's going to be starting school next year.
Yeah, and Leia's in soccer.
Yeah, she's lacrosse now.
So, yeah, let's jump right into it. I want to hear how the kids are doing and how you're doing, the hubs.
Well, everybody is doing very, very well. She's loving lacrosse. She's loving school. She's doing amazing. Zane is just still crazy, but super sweet at the same time. And, this will be his last year at daycare and he goes to kindergarten next year. So he's on the fence. He still says he wants to hang out with his teacher at school now versus going to regular school. But yeah, for the most part, everything is really, really good.
Oh, awesome. Thanks so much for sharing with us a little bit about your family. So before I talk about your journey, how do you actually balance being a mama, a wife, and a budding entrepreneur?
It's something that I've continually worked on. When I first started my business, my kids, I only had one child at the time. And so it was a little bit easier to try and balance everything. And it was also a lot easier to put, that extra time you need to put into your business in the very beginning. Yeah. Plus I have a super supportive husband. Without his support, I know I wouldn't be where I am right now. He's always just been my biggest cheerleader. Whatever you need from me to make sure that you can do what you need to do, that's always been his approach to everything and still is today. So, with having two kids now, I'm getting away from, the rat race, the hustle, always work. And so I value my time with my family a lot more than the time that I put into my business. That's where my priority is. So I schedule as much as I can while everyone else is doing what they need to get done. While Leia's at school or at practice or Saud is at work, Zane's at daycare. So now I only do portrait sessions during the day, during the week. And now that I've moved into mostly doing branding photography, that's made it easy because a lot of the people I work with are business owners who set their own schedule, who are in fact able to, take off middle of a Monday to come and work with me. And then my evenings are for my family, for getting practice, going to dinner, just doing nothing, watching movies. And my weekends, unless I'm doing a wedding or an event, I'm doing something with them. So I said a lot of no's to people who want to take pictures on the weekends because I just, it's not worth it for me to book another session on a Saturday or Sunday, even if, I'd rather just be sitting at home with my family. It's just setting a lot of boundaries and knowing what I want my life to look like. And then I just create my rules for my business around what I want to do. The best part about owning your own business is you set the rules. So,
like you said, you set the own rules. And so I want to hear a little bit more about how you set the own rules in your business and how you got started as a creative entrepreneur and a photographer.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started my journey about 9 years ago. I was actually pregnant with Leia at the time, and I was working a customer service job for an insurance company, a car insurance company. there wasn't a lot of upward mobility or anything like that. And I really didn't know, what I wanted my future to look like as far as career wise. I just knew I needed a job. So I was there. It was okay. I was gifted a camera by my aunt. And she's like, it has too many buttons. I'm going to return it to the store. You can have it if you want it. I was like, okay, sure. I took it. I did newborn photos of Leha after she was born that nobody has ever seen. But it was enough for me to be like, okay, I need to learn how to do this so I can start taking better pictures of her as she's, getting older. So I enrolled in a 101 course from the Cleveland Photographic Society here. I mean, it was like 1 day a week for, I think, 10 weeks. And that's where I learned the very basics, just how to use my camera. And from there, I wanted to learn as much as I could. Back then, our resources were YouTube, Facebook groups. I didn't really know a lot of photographers at that point, so it was a lot of self-teaching. And then it just, every day I was doing something to grow in my business, to learn more, a lot of trial and error. But people started noticing, and then they started hiring me. And I, remember like, wow, somebody wants to pay me to do something that I like to do. And so from there, it just, I knew once I started seeing how people reacted to seeing their photos and seeing what I was able to do for them, that really just fueled me. Like, I need to get better. I need to be able to do more for people. It just, you get really excited when you start realizing, okay, I think I found what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
So, and from there, I stayed at my job for a few more years. And then in 2014, when I was about to have my son and second child, that's when I really looked at everything and was like, okay, if I'm going to do this and do my own thing, now's going to be the perfect time. Financially, it made sense. I definitely didn't plan too far ahead. However, at that time, it would have, I would not have brought anything home after paying for daycare for 2 kids. And so I was like, okay, I'll make somewhat of a sacrifice. I will, we cut down on a lot of stuff for me to be able to stay home and pursue this career and also take care of the kids as well. Eventually it grew even more to where they were able to, Leha started going to school. Zane was in daycare full time. And then I was really able to jump into the business and give it everything. And then now I've been doing photography full time for the last almost 5 years. I can't believe it's been 5 years. Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's a lot. I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly growing, but I can't imagine doing anything else. So, and that's how I got to where I am now.
Okay. So you mentioned that, you're in your 5th year of owning your own business. And as a creative entrepreneur, how did you know that your niche was going to be personal branding photography?
So that is something, I kind of got into by chance. It was never like a goal of mine. I am going to be a personal branding photographer. When 5 years ago, it started out as, headshots. And then I would talk to business owners and, just get to know more about them and their businesses. And I'm like, I think you could use more than just a headshot. Social media was definitely, it's been around for a while, but it was definitely really ramping up, I guess, about that time. And people were not necessarily using professional images online. They'd have a headshot made and that was it. So they're trying to tell their stories, but they didn't have professional imagery. It wasn't a cohesive message for them. So
Right.
it started off this conversations of, how can I help you make your story a little more cohesive and bring, the image element of things into play? Because they had great content, they had great services and all this stuff. It just sometimes didn't come across easily, especially on a platform like Instagram. It's all about photos. So then it was like, okay, well, I talked to them, I listened to what they do, who their clients were, and got all of these details so then I could plan a session specifically for them. And, that was just me talking to them and wanting to get them something a little different that they could use, me not realizing, oh, this could be a whole other thing. And then from there, I would do that with every client that called in. Sometimes people would just need a headshot and that was sufficient. Other times it just made sense to do something a little bit more to, these people wanted to show their audiences that they were relatable. They wanted to show them that they were personable, all of these things. And a headshot just doesn't cut that sometimes. So that's how I started getting into it. And then people would contact me and say, oh, you did my friend's photos. And I really like that she wasn't necessarily looking at the camera and it seemed really natural and candid. That's what I need for my brand.
Right.
And then when I really realized that I was doing something a little different was when this company contacted me and they wanted brand photos and they're like, they didn't even live here, but they're like, we've been looking for someone to do something like this. And you're referred by a couple people in some women's group that I'm not even a part of. And they're like, we're going to do our team retreat and we're coming to Cleveland to do it. So we would love for you to do our photography. So I'm like, wow, I have somebody from another state coming here to do a personal branding session. So then I'm like, okay, there's definitely a need for this. So then I took that and I ran with it. And, now people know that that's what I do.
One question I have is your market. And because you're in Cleveland, were there a lot of other people doing what you were doing?
No, there weren't. Not that I knew of. I think maybe there's one or two other photographers that after I'd already started doing these sessions, that they started doing it as well. And then and people started branding it as personal branding photography, but leading up to that, I didn't know of anybody. There may have been, but there was definitely a need and, there was definitely a market. I know a lot of really amazing entrepreneurs here in Cleveland, creative entrepreneurs, or just, people just wanting to start their own thing. So there was definitely a need for these people to have something to set them apart. So.
No, that's good stuff. So we briefly touched on how you tapped into an untapped market in your area. And later we'll talk about how you plan for your personal branding sessions and how you market those and things like that. But one of the things I wanted to bring up was, as professionals, as creative entrepreneurs, we really don't pay that much attention to our own personal branding and the importance of that in our business, because before people buy into our service, they're buying into us.
Yes.
So one of the things I would like for us to talk about for a little bit is the importance of professional imagery for business owners, and why is that important?
So the biggest reason I think that it is important is, as a business owner, you're always going to have competition. There's lots of people that do what you do, but nobody is you. What you are able to give to your clients and to your audience is different than everyone else. So when you do things that can set you apart from your competition, I mean, it means the world. If everyone else is just, they're not really showing up online, or they're taking dark, grainy, blurry photos and they're asking people for money, that's going to be, a little, people might second guess that. But if they see someone who has actually invested in themselves to get quality images, to share a cohesive, brand online, to have images that show that, okay, I care, I'm here, I'm showing up, I'm investing in myself, then other people can take them more seriously and say, okay, so if that person is taking the time and the finances to invest in themselves, then I definitely want to get to know this person as well, because they care. I can tell that they care, and I can tell that they're trying to create a better product, a better service, a better experience for me. Because like having professional imagery of you, of your brand, of what you do, it's not just about having pretty pictures. I mean, you want to grab people's attention. You want to make them stop scrolling. You want to make them read your caption. You want to make them go to your website. That's the point of all of this, is to have people go to your website or do something to do more research about you to then eventually become one of your clients. And it's really hard to do that if your online presence doesn't look polished and professional, and you don't even have to, it's not like you have to have a lot of photos. You don't have to spend a ton of money, or anything to even achieve this look. It's about quality over quantity. And, there's so many people that have so many important things to say, but you only have like a millisecond or 500 milliseconds or something like that to make a first impression. And especially now in the scroll culture of Instagram, and I do it too. I'll scroll, and sometimes something will make me stop.
Yep.
And it's usually like that bright, crisp, clear image of, that business owner that's laughing or having fun or meeting with a client or working or doing something. There's something there that's grabbing my attention. And that's what I'm trying to do for people. I'm trying to help them create images that are going to get people's attention so that all of the value that they have to offer somebody has an opportunity to get to their audience.
And another thing I wanted to add to that too is that it actually adds a bit of personality to the person's brand.
It does. It does. Everybody's brand and everybody's story is completely different. And so, I talk to each of my clients and I'm like, how do you want to be seen? Like, how do you want your audience to see you? How do you want them to perceive you? What is your story? How can I translate your story into one still image?
Right.
And I mean, it's very important.
Another thing that I wanted to point out too was that when attending workshops, they always say that your first 9 squares need to be able to tell something about yourself, whether it's something about your family or a behind the scenes photo or something personal, something along those lines. I mean, you really have about 9 squares to really capture the attention of someone who's scrolling through your feed, even if they don't look at the captions. What are the first 9 squares of your Instagram saying about you? Do you have any personal branding images that relate to who you are as a business owner and the services that you're providing? I think that if we're not providing fresh content consistently, we lose the engagement of our audience.
I agree. Absolutely. I think it's shifting a little bit to where, I know a couple years ago, if you didn't post every day, then, you were behind. Now, that things are living a little bit longer on Instagram. I think that's helping. You can go a day or, 2 days without posting and somebody can still see that content. But in order for them to still see that old content, it has to be relevant. People have to engage with it. You want people talking back and forth in your comments or sending you a message about something. If you don't have any of that engagement, then nobody's going to see the post. That's just how Instagram, that's how Facebook, everything works now. So if you can have an image that grabs people's attention and gets people talking, that's going to be good for you. It's going to stay relevant on the timeline. And, people will be able to tell within those first 9 pictures who you are, what you do, what your values are, what are they going to expect from following your page. And then, you've really done your job if they continue to scroll. So I can tell, I'll get like a new follower and then they like, and then all of a sudden they're liking pictures from 2 years ago and they're still going back and back and back. I'm like, okay, good. I grabbed their attention real quick and they stayed and they looked through my stuff. They interacted with old things too. So, keeping everything new and fresh and consistent and right and just clean is a must.
Right. And like, you're a fun person to be around. Nobody wants to hire someone who's boring and not entertaining. And some people feel like, they don't have anything to share. They may be too boring and things like that. But what I know for sure is even if you're posting, you're out at Starbucks and you're drinking your favorite latte or pink drink or whatever the case may be, and you post you in the picture with your drink, not a picture of your food, but you are, as a part of your professional imagery for your business and personal branding, is that you're out enjoying yourself saying, hey, I know how to take a break and I'm going to treat myself. And so I think that when people see pictures that they can relate to, they're more likely to buy from you and more likely to invest in you, because they're like, oh, she doesn't take herself too seriously, or he doesn't take himself too seriously. And it's really important for us to kind of break up, the monotony of only posting whatever type of genre you're in as a photographer, only posting those images and not showing none of yourself in the pictures. I know for sure that some of my most liked images are pictures of me.
I know. Like, I'm like, "Oh, you guys want to see my face?" That happens all the time. That always gets the most engagement because people are like, "Oh, it's you. You're showing up. This is the person behind the camera." And then they get, excited and they want to interact with you. And then also just to go along with that, like doing the picture of the Starbucks or something like that. Not every image has to be shot by a professional in order for it to be a professional quality photo. I know this, of course, but if you have a well-lit photo, these iPhones can do amazing things. And Androids, although I'm team iPhone, but,
we're definitely not holding that against you guys, team Android.
Right. Not sponsored. But yeah, it just a professional quality, it's just having the quality, not the quantity of photos. So I don't want people to think like, oh, the only way that you'll be successful is if you hire a professional photographer. I mean, you got to work with what you can. And I mean, we take photos all the time with our iPhones. I've posted photos from iPhone, and sometimes people can't tell the difference. I don't know what that says about photography, but
right.
But if you do it right, so.
Yeah, you can get some pretty dynamic images. It's really starting where you are with what you have.
Absolutely.
And if all you have is your iPhone at the time, look for the light. Phones take good quality images for what you need for your social media. So there's actually no excuse why you're not showing up online and being more consistent with your postings. You can be behind. Oh, another thing that people love is behind the scenes.
Yes.
You can even show up with a good quality image of you behind scenes shooting your session or doing a quick video clip or something like that. But it's really important because people buy from people they know, like, and trust.
Yes.
And if they don't see your face, they can't tell whether or not they can like you and trust you and either want to get to know you at all. So I love the value that you brought to this conversation with the importance of the professional imagery. And before we wrap up on this topic, I do want to know, what are some common mistakes that we make when we are trying to build up our personal brands with our professional images? So for example, I feel like one mistake that I took for granted when building my brand and thinking about getting professional images is that I can take them every 3 or 4 years. I didn't value that you really need to consistently at least take new pictures every 6 to 12 months or things like that. So I wonder, what other mistakes have I made along the way or are still making as a creative entrepreneur when it comes to, building my professional imagery for my business?
That's a really good question. So first, I will say as photographers, we're a little spoiled because we always have content. Like, we don't have the same struggles, necessarily that other entrepreneurs have because, they don't have access to professional imagery all the time. And it also does depend on how you want your brand to be. Do you want to be the face of your brand? Are you the face of your brand? Do you, just sell a product? Are you selling a service? So I think you have to first, look at your industry, look at what you're doing, to then figure out really what your brand imagery should be like. So if we're talking about a creative entrepreneur who is the face of their brand, yes, it's important that they do get in front of the camera or have some sort of quality imagery pretty frequently because you can recycle the same photos over and over, and that does create that consistency and a recognition. But that's good for like static things like your website. So you want, your website, your profile photos, all of that to be the same. But then when we're talking about you consistently telling your story to other people through Instagram posts, through Facebook posts, that's where we want to see that variety. You want to tell people about the new projects you're working on, show them behind the scenes of, the new client that you're working with or the new everything that you're doing. And you can't do that with a lot of old photos. Again, people scroll through because they want to see your journey. They want to see everything that you have to provide. And if it's all the same photos, it's like, okay, we're recycling the content, which is fine to recycle content. But at the same time, you want to make new content all the time. I think that people sometimes think it's better to have a larger quantity of photos or a larger quantity of content versus quality content. So I see people that do a really good job, like they're staying consistent, and then it looks like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to post. Let me hurry up and post something. And then they post something and it just throws everything off.
Right.
Low quality photo because it was the only one that they could find. Yeah. Or they went to an event and they had somebody take a picture, but you can barely see them in it, and they posted it. And, it just lowers the engagement. I think for one-offs, or if you're trying to get something out there quickly, stories is awesome. Yeah. But your feed, I think, should definitely be more curated. So take a step back, plan. You don't have to do 30 days of content. I know some people will plan out like 3 months of content. That's awesome. My life doesn't allow me to do that. But, if you want to do on a weekly basis, plan out 3 or 4 pieces of content ahead of time. Get your images together ahead of time. See, there's free apps that you can use to see what your feed is going to look like. I don't think you have to make patterns or anything anymore. I think that's old news, but at least a consistency is important. So take a step back and plan. I think that is, probably one of the most important things. You don't want to get overwhelmed either or panic and be like, oh my gosh, I have to post something right now. It's like, no, take a step back. I would rather you wait another day and get me something really awesome that I want to see than it's like you just threw something together.
No, I love that. This is such good stuff. And it's so important because I think a lot of times we don't really realize that these are mistakes that we're making that could be hindering us from booking our next client and really showing up more often for our clients because we're so stuck on not doing those things and not taking a step back to plan that we talk ourselves out of posting and we don't show up at all.
And with that too is also that I'm like this, and I know a lot of people that I know are like this, where we want things to be perfect. And so that can delay us from doing things. Or, I have to have all professional photos. I have to have, all of these things before I'm going to really start using my Instagram or, whatever the excuse is. And in actuality, it's like, just like you said, show up, plan so then you can start being consistent and, you're going to make mistakes. It might not always work that well, but the fact that you're showing up for your people, they can see that you're a real person. They can start to get to know you through your photos, through your captions, through all of that. I think that's important.
All right. So I'm really excited to hear about how you plan for your personal branding sessions. So I know that we just talked about how to help other creative entrepreneurs, business owners plan and really get some more insight into the importance of why they need professional imagery. But let's talk about the planning that really goes into that, because you do a really good job of preparing your clients for their personal branding session so they can show up for their audience. So I would love it if you can just share a few tips and strategies with us about how you plan for your sessions.
Absolutely. So the first thing that I do when I get an inquiry is I set up a time to talk to people on the phone. I think a lot can get lost when you're just emailing back and forth. And these sessions are really fun. They're exciting. They're a way for you to celebrate yourself, celebrate your business, and really create, most of the people that I work with, they have never gotten professional photos anyways. So from the very start, I want this to be a different and unique type of experience. So, when I get them on the phone, that's where I want to know everything about their business. Who are they trying to attract? In the initial phone call, it is relatively broad because I just, we want to see if we will work well together and if I'm the right photographer for them. So I get to know, like, who are they? What is their business? Why did they reach out to me specifically, and how I can help them. And then from there, by the end of the call, they're like, okay, I'm ready. Let's do this. Or, like, okay, let me think about it. And, maybe they were just looking for just a headshot,
Just
so
headshot. They don't know. They don't know.
Right. So, and I have sometimes told people, like, that is all you need. But another reason for this initial call is because I can tell if somebody really is ready to take this step and to make this type of an investment, because I have turned people away because they weren't clear yet as far as, their business, what they wanted, who they wanted to talk to. And I don't want somebody, going through this entire experience to then create photos where 3 months down the road, they pivoted everything or they changed their mind as far as what they wanted to do. And now these photos really don't apply to what they actually meant to do. So that's really important that I find that out in the very beginning, because I want them to come to me when they're ready, when this is going to be a great experience, when they're going to be able to use these photos for a while. So after that initial call and we get the booking, all of that done, then we do another consultation. And this consultation is where we get really into the nitty gritty. And that's more specifics about who their target audience is, where they live, where they shop, what they do. And I ask those questions because, if you know that your client, enjoys going out to brunch and shopping at Saks Fifth Avenue and is a city girl, you don't want to be taking your brand photos on a farm in the middle of nowhere. Like, that's not going to speak to that client. And sometimes that means doing something a little different than maybe you thought that you should do. But as the expert, that's my job to tell people, I understand you like farms, but does this have anything to do with your brand or anything to do with the people that you're trying to reach? So we have those conversations and really, outline what their specific session is going to look like. I have makeup artists that I work with. That is an important part of the process. Plus, it's a lot of fun. We decide on location. We decide, I help them with their wardrobe, whether that's them in their own closet or that's me connecting them with a stylist. And it really just, depends on how hands-off they want to be. So then during the shoot, I tell people, you're going to come to the shoot, you're going to get your makeup done, you're going to have all of your clothes ready to go. I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to direct you throughout the shoot. So all you need to do is just show up. So it kind of takes the pressure, off of what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to look? Is my makeup okay? I know everything's going to be taken care of. And me being confident in that also gives my clients that confidence as well. And then branding shoots, they're a lot of fun.
They're so much fun.
They're so much fun. And, a lot of times these are like my clients are like me and like you, where we work hard and we work all the time. Sometimes we have pull all-nighters, whatever we need to do. So to have a day where we're doing something just for ourselves and we're not the ones running the show, like, that's awesome. And all of my clients, I'm really lucky. Like, all of my branding clients are, amazing. They're all doing really awesome things and they're ready to go to that next level. And so for me to be able to provide that service for them, I love it. So yeah, that's my session from start to finish.
Right. And I'll put this out there. Personal branding sessions are an investment.
Absolutely. They are.
But it's well worth it. I mean, you'll make your money back just by posting those images consistently. You'll make your money back because you're going to book more clients because you have such awesome photos showcased on your social media and your website. So I think it's really important that as creative entrepreneurs that we really take some time out for ourselves and plan our own personal branding sessions.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. That's awesome.
It's fun, but it's also, a way for you to definitely do something positive for your business. And just to go back on something that you were just saying, I actually had a client today. She called me like super, super excited. I did some interior shots for her because she's an interior designer. This is the first time that she started a brand new Instagram. All she has is a picture of herself and her logo. And then today she posted some of the interior photos. This really big interior design company contacted her already today saying, "Oh, we love your photos of this room. We want to feature you on our kids' Instagram." And so, she just was very thankful and just like, this is why I went to a professional to get this done. So I just love that because it was her first time posting any of her work and she already saw a really cool outcome from it.
And see, that's exactly why it's so important that we invest in our own personal branding sessions, stories like that. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today. Before we wrap up, can you leave us with 3 takeaways on why we should be investing in our own personal branding images?
So, number 1, it's important to invest in your own personal branding images because your audience sees that, your potential clients see that. And, they know if you are willing to invest in yourself, then that gives them more confidence in investing in you. Number 2, you want to create consistency. So by you updating your professional headshot within your branding session, you can then update all of your profile photos. Everyone will recognize your little teeny tiny picture because they see it everywhere they look, on Facebook, on Instagram, on your website. They know that's you, and you want to create that recognition with your brand. And number 3, don't be afraid to just start. Although personal branding is an investment and, that is something that at some point you'll want to do if you are the face of your brand. If you can't afford it right now and you're still saving up for it, still show up online, ask a friend to help you, get out your iPhone, find some nice lights, and find a photographer in your area that may have some classes for entrepreneurs. I teach entrepreneurs how to use their cameras or their iPhones just so they can get some nice photos when they're not able to work with me all of the time. So, don't feel if you don't have a professional photo yet, if it's not something that you can do at this time, there are still other ways for you to get professional looking photos while you're working towards that goal.
And I'll end with this. Make the type of investment in yourself that you want others to invest in you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Cam, for joining me. And tell us how we can stay connected to you on social media.
You can find me on Instagram at Kamron_Khan. And you can also go to my website, www.kamronkhan.com, and sign up for my email list to stay up to date on everything that I don't already put on Instagram.
Love it. All right, Boo. I will talk to you later.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Purpose to Create podcast. Share, like, comment, or review this episode. Check out the show notes at www.purposetocreatepodcast.com and connect with us online at Purpose to Create.